So Lizzie, what do you think about having an antenna right next to our property?
I like it. I think it's a reminder of man's ability to generate electricity. So it's super early in the morning. This is our river. And we're on our way on a 2.5 hour drive to go meet an oom named Dries, who's gonna show us a little bit of land.
Yeah, a little bit of large amount of land.
Kevin's quite excited.
Yeah, Kevin is coming with because we can't trust him to stay at home. He's also not going to see any of the farms because we can't trust him to see the farms. So he's just coming along for the ride.
Yeah.
So here we are. Oops. So here we are at the Winelands one stop. Lizzie, are you excited for your pie?
So excited. Can I eat it?
Yeah, let's eat it. Oh. It's good. Kevin, you want a burger pie? Oh, now we've started something.
Go, Kevin.
Good one. Alright.
We're in these tunnels. Bushes. If I had to guess, I would say rose bushes. I have no idea. Whoa, this whole mountain is covered in mist. Or cloud? Cloud. This whole mountain is covered in cloud.
They call it a mine.
A mine.
Soon we'll be eating flesh off the bone. Oops.
What is these drops coming
Some
from?
fat drops coming off.
Kind of a pretty tunnel.
Yeah, we have.
Do you think there's people who drive through this tunnel every day?
Yes.
Wow. That looks proper Lion King.
So Lizzie, how long have you been thinking about moving to a farm?
Probably since lockdown. I think a big part of this is probably a reaction to being locked down. I haven't really seen a reason why I need to live in the city. I love doing city things. I love City of Cape Town. I think it's the most beautiful city in the world. But I can go dancing on occasion. I don't have to live there to do that. I'd rather want my everyday to have more natural beauty and more freedom in it. They say the mountains fall over.
Very strange looking mountain. Oh, and here's the little hut.
There's a little English fort on top of this little hut.
Pretty cool. Okay, and here we are.
Sweet home. So early. towards the mountains, the other mountains, the Cape Town mountains.
Just mountains everywhere.
Mountains everywhere. Tell me, Martin, what do you think about that first farm we went to with all the houses on it? I was stalking that house online like it is a new boyfriend.
Did I do 40 lips well?
Yeah, it's good Morty lips.
Yeah, so we built it up quite a lot, I think, in our minds, because it looked so perfect. And I don't know, whenever I see something like that, I'm always like, well, I wonder if they're not showing the
Dead bodies in the
bog in the one corner or something like that.
Yeah.
But it didn't have any skeletons in the cupboard, it seemed. But it was a bit windier than Montagu normally gets, so it was quite blustery, but the views that were there were really breathtaking, and the houses looked quite recently renovated. It doesn't look like we have to try and fix any particular part of the main houses up. So yeah, it was pretty good. It's a little bit like we're buying a farm and a domestic house at the same time, where we're paying a little bit of a premium for having a nicely renovated house, and a second house, and a third house, and even a fourth wooden house. But the fourth wooden house does need a bit of work. It's a little bit of a wooden cabin kind of feel. So
The one thing I will say about the houses is that I did not expect them to have such a low ceiling. I could probably fit my tallest friend in those houses, but they're clearly designed to live outside. Because you eat outside, you chat with your friends outside, and it's like a cool area, and it's a lot of maintenance responsibility, but I also feel like it's quite a good spot for someone who's new to having a farm.
yeah, neither Lizzie or I have ever lived on an actual agricultural piece of land, so perhaps some sort of hybrid living between a farm and a normal house is exactly where we need to begin.
I was kind of impressed with the state of the greenhouse as well. There's strong fencing in place. I'd say the thing that probably needs the most work there is that there isn't really a workshop that is big enough for Martin and all his equipment. We would need to factor that into the cost of purchasing the house. It's like that would be an immediate expense for us afterwards.
But yeah, it's there was quite an interesting history to the ownership of that space. It used to be a horse farm, and like the felt ground, it seems like that's only pretty much been used for horses before. And then the owners, after the horse people, had some kind of holistic healing business where people would come stay to reset their city burnout. And part of that is a composting toilet, and we're going to have to find something to do with that. The third building is pretty standalone. It has its own entrance to the property, so we're thinking that if we need to, that could be rented out immediately to somebody who we don't have to live on top of. Like, they can come and go as they need to.
The second cottage is maybe a bit smaller than I originally thought it would be. At the moment, it doesn't have a full kitchen, so that would be better for people coming for short stay. It's all someone who spends a lot of time in the main house with us, because they wouldn't really have a nice living area of their own. And the dude behind us, we could potentially get permission from him to walk in the mountain. But even if we said no, right behind him the nature reserve starts, and we don't need permission to hang out in the nature reserve. So that's cool.
And the final thing that we really need to get assurance on before it's a complete contender is we need high-speed internet from day one of us living there, because I did a speed test and it had a good download speed of 50 megabits per second, but the upload speed seemed to be capped at about 2 on the LTE network. So fine for emergencies, but I think if we're going to have a number of people staying there all trying to work on the internet and do Zoom meetings and upload videos and things, that won't be enough. So we'll just have to see what options are available to us.
Okay, so after we checked out house number 1, we went to go check out house number 2. And house number 2 wasn't really a house, it was more like a piece of vegetation, but a pretty piece of vegetation, and we knew that going there. What did you think of house number 2, Martian?
So farm number 2 was about the same total size as farm number 1, but it has no livable buildings on it at the moment. There are 3 quite rundown workers' cottages there. That 2 of them didn't have roofs, and the one that did have a roof still I wouldn't class as sealed. And then in the middle of it, there was a clearing where the previous owners were preparing to build the main house, but obviously they didn't get very far before wanting to sell. The LTE reception from up there, because it was also right next to a cellular tower, it was 25 megabits up and 25 megabits down.
So that one has a 1/9 share in the mountain that it's on, and that's pretty cool because then you can like ride your horses on that bit of open land. You're just not allowed to hold on it, but because it's so high up, it's got an amazing view. Not that the first one didn't have a nice view, had a great view, but this one had an even better view, I would say. But the spot that they had excavated to build the house was quite far away from the water and the electricity, so you would need to pay to get that sorted. The other problem is also that the terrain is quite uneven. Like it's quite a sloped piece of land, and there are quite like little like rivers and things. I almost broke my leg like trying to walk across the property. It did seem like generally the terrain was just a little bit more rough, a little bit more rocky, and therefore maybe slightly harder to work. I am scared of the second one a lot more than I'm scared of the first one. Like they're both scary, but the second one just represents so much more that I don't know how to do, and things that I don't know how much it's going to cost. In the sort of sober light of day, I think something like that can easily become very overwhelming for people like us who are so new to owning like a lot of land that needs to be maintained and protected.
Oh, hello there. Yeah, we got home safely. It's just about nighttime. Good time to start a fire and have some cup of teas.
Yeah, and we're a little bit confused about what to do. I think we're pretty aligned on the fact that we don't want the second property because that's scary.
It's very scary.
The first one is a little bit more tricky because how often does that come around? We don't know.
Yeah. So that kind of brings us to the end of the first chapter of farm looking.
Bye, everyone.
That was pretty
I
good.
think that's good.
Yeah, there's something in there. There's something usable in there.